So, um, this is today's last panel, and it is entitled Diamonds at a Crossroads, a topic which can be discussed. Now, given the fact that David Block was unable to get out of Israel on a plane, he has expressed his regrets for this panel because we had the privilege of hearing him earlier, and he felt that the panel was so stocked with such superior wisdom and expertise that everything was in good hands. So I send you good wishes from him, and that's that. I'm going to do this in alphabetical order. Kathy Hillelson of Owl Financing, and it's Kathy's first time at the conference. We're very excited for her participation and her perspective. Raj Mehta, and again, Raj's first time with us, and he is here as wearing, if you will, at least two hats. One of them is as an international luxury and strategic consultant, and the other one as a board member of the Watch and Jewelry Initiative 2030. Stuart Samuels as the president of DMIA. Matthew Shamroth. Oh, and also it's Stuart's first time, and we're quite thrilled that he's able to do it this year. Matt Shamroth from M. Shamroth and Sons and DMIA and various other professional affiliations. Amish Shah of Alter and Javar, and Fariel Zaruki, De Beers, World Diamond Council, etc. And the moderator, our beloved Rob Bates. I turn it over to you. And remember, buy his novels,
Oh, I'm going to be plugging those, don't worry. I'm going to be, this is beloved Rob Bates, thank you. And this is supposed to be a frothy panel, right? I'm going to bring the froth today because it's the end of the day and I'm punchy as. So let's talk about, I think we all know that the industry's gone through some difficult times over the last 2 years. So I guess the thing that kind of came out of the discussions prior to this panel was that, people wanted to talk about what's new, what's going forward, what's, now that, how can we kind of prepare ourselves for what will hopefully be a revival. So I'm very interested in hearing about things that are kind of new things, and we're going to try not to trot over old ground. We have people from the lab-grown industry and people from the natural diamond industry, and hey, I'm cool with that, man. And we all need to be cool and relax and have a good time. So I guess we'll start with Fariel. What do you see as kind of like the big things kind of coming up and that you're excited about as far as the industry?
Well, we were just in a panel talking about the blue list, so I'm really excited about changing the narrative when we speak to consumers. I really am not a believer in shortcuts, so I don't like listening to I'm ethical because I use this product. I'm focused on the actors. I think lab-grown and I think natural players can be good or can be bad, because it's the actors that do good or do bad, not the product. So I'm so sick of the lab-grown versus natural conversation, and I want to hear about what good looks like in both.
All right, let's pass it over to Amish.
So when we talk about where we're heading to, if you're looking in, I think both categories, it's, I think, high time to work together. It's not an optional conversation, it's mandatory. If the jewelry industry needs to move to the next phase without losing consumer traction, you're going to need for the both categories to stop doing derogatory remarks with the intention of trying to drive the consumer. I think we have had enough from both of the sides, especially one side, just because you've been around forever. It's like something I just told somebody outside, is I respect the past, but the future is changing, and aligning to the future is not optional for this industry to survive. Otherwise, the category for itself, or the industry as a whole, is going to lose value.
Okay, Matthew?
So, Rob, if I understand the question correctly from you is, how is the industry preparing itself?
Yeah, what is
for
new?
revival and-
What are you excited about?
And to me, I look at it a little differently. I think how's the industry been tested and continues to show its resilience. I think it's exceptionally remarkable industry. When I was asking my father this question last night, he reminded me of how my great-grandfather and grandfather left Antwerp in the middle of the night in 1939 and came to 580, and that we're still in 580. And do I really think we have problems today? He said, I think that was a little bit more of a problem than what we're going through today. Yeah. So I believe that we have seen over the decades, there's always going to be something new, always something thrown at us, and it takes a village. And when I look around the room, and whether it's funny, someone asks me, what organization do I think you should join or be affiliated with or whatever it is, and I always say, I just follow Fariel and Ronnie, because at the end of the day, the village is pretty incredible, and we all lean on each other all the time. Thank you.
Stuart?
I think that what excites me going forward is our new push that we have. I think that for very far too long, notwithstanding some of the comments that were made earlier today that I heard, I think that the industry has been woefully inept at keeping the proverbial pedal to the metal when it comes to promotion and advertising of diamonds. I think that if Coca-Cola, who spends between $3 and $5 billion per year on promotion and advertising, if they feel that that's important, I mean, if I were the CEO, I'd probably say, hey, let's give it a rest for a year and I'll make an extra $3 billion. But clearly that's not what they do. And we have, unfortunately, been inept, and for many, many different reasons, we've kind of backed off of that. And now I think that there's a renewed push. At the IDMA meeting that we had in March, we all decided to rally behind the Natural Diamond Council. There is some good news coming down the pike, some news that has already been announced, and there will be further good news. And I think that the more that we take that in hand and the more that we take that seriously, I believe that it will once again rejuvenate the industry, and we can maybe talk later about some different specifics. I don't think that was the question on the table, but I think that that is something that we could all look forward to seeing. And you know, I encourage everybody to be a part of that.
Raj?
So I think we are in a pretty good position here from where we stand. Being at a difficult market is not a bad thing. Actually, it will force everybody to rethink their businesses and restructure the business. Being in too long in a comfort zone is also not good. We see that happening in many industries, so it's actually good. Challenges are good. It's not a bad thing. If we look at COVID as our last problem that the entire trade had, we came out of it very well. And the jewelry as a product was one of the best selected product by the consumers when they went out to shop. So there is a lot that can be done in this industry. If you look from the debt point of view, financially, I think so the debt levels are very low. The industry is very resilient. It's adjusting and reacting to how the markets are very quickly. And people have also acknowledged and embraced sustainability as a very large topic. It's a very large topic, of course, but most of the industry has embraced it. And as we see here, like we are sitting here, all of us, I think so there's so many more panel talks that are happening around the world for the diamond industry and just about the entire industry, and it's great. So I think so a lot of good things are happening. And I feel that the African nations coming together in the last 1 month with NDC and for the promotion of the natural diamond industry was one of the milestones that we were like looking for. So I think so it's great times.
Kathy?
So from a financial perspective, the revival actually stems back to 2011 when the financial crisis happened. So since then, in 2011, major banks pulled out, such as Bank Leumi, you have ABN and AMRO, and we found a loophole that we needed to fulfill. So OWL came in and started providing asset-based lending, specifically to the diamond and jewelry industry. Is that better? Oh, yeah, that's a lot better. We've come a long way. We've serviced the entire industry, the clients globally, and we continue to do so. You hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
And we continue to do so. And I think that the banks are still pulling out of our industry. They're not making it any easier, unfortunately, and we're happy to be able to be of service to our industry.
Okay, let me just take off from one thing that Ferial said. She talked about changing the narrative about, products and, if one product is inherently better than the other. And I noticed one way De Beers is doing that is through promotion of Origin, and its new brand is actually called Origins. Can you kind of talk us through that and why you feel that will move the needle a little bit? I mean, I think, people have for a long time felt that every mined diamond is a blood diamond or a conflict diamond, or certain people have felt that way, and or that's the perception. And how do you kind of change that? Because it seems very difficult.
Yeah, that's a very useful narrative for some, isn't it?
Yeah.
And very convenient to make such bold labels and use them in a derogatory manner for a specific purpose, to line certain pockets. So I'm really against that. Like, let me tell you about Origins. You mentioned Origins. And you mentioned, Rob, in your question, you said mined diamonds. It's wrong to say mined diamonds. Not every single natural diamond is mined. We don't mine our diamonds in Namibia. We recover them from the seabed. There's no drilling. There's no mining. We mine in Botswana. But guess what? All those diamonds are natural. So if you want to talk about the category, say natural diamonds, unless you want to purposefully be derogatory. And that's what we've noticed. Second is the whole blood diamond. Blood diamond happened before many were born, especially in terms of the consumers that were. And yet the story continues, ignoring all the evolution that has happened since. Why? Because it serves certain people's purposes. So I'm not saying that blood diamond does not exist anymore. That's why we have the Kimberley process. Conflict diamonds are addressed through the Kimberley process. And there's no process like that has government, NGOs, and industry for any product in the world. But going back to De Beers specifically, Origins is a category play. It's a way to talk about natural diamonds, honestly, truthfully, with the impact story, because natural diamonds have a beautiful story to tell. Origins is about telling consumers through digital innovation, whilst protecting aggregation, where their diamond comes from, the socio-economic impact it's had along its journey, and the beautiful craftsmanship and innovation around design and creativity. And it enables the consumer to continue telling their story as well, so how they were proposed to, etc. And it talks about quality as well in a very consumer-friendly way. And because it's backed by evidence, it is not misleading to the consumer. It's about being open and transparent and honest about what the product is, what it stands for, and the values that you buy into when you buy that product.
Okay, I think Lisa had a question?
I just wanted to say, I actually think, however you want to call this, the industry has made a lot of progress with regard to this blood diamond question. And I think that conflict diamonds are not necessarily, the term conflict is not necessarily the same thing as blood. And I think conflict may require continued attention, but I do think it's important to differentiate between something that was a dominant perspective with a particular associated narrative, when that is changing. And the issues, in my view, the issues are changing, and I think that, from my perspective, does represent some progress. And I would just call out that differentiation.
Yeah, and let's just be clear that the term blood diamond is not, it does not have a specific meaning, where conflict diamond actually does have a very specific definition, which they've been trying to change for 500 decades. And so, Stuart, yeah.
I would like to move that if we had a conversation before to eliminate the word grandfather, which honestly, maybe it's my ignorance, until I Googled it, I really didn't understand the undertones of it. I think we should eliminate the word blood diamond. As Fariel points out, that happened in Sierra Leone mostly in the early 90s, way before many people in this room were indeed born. And I think that it's something which was a small part of the diamond industry, although not a good part, not something that we should be proud of, but I think it's way past. And I think that the notion of constantly revisiting the term blood diamonds is something which is so anachronistic that it should really no longer be used at all. Conflict diamonds, I understand. Blood diamonds, that term no longer should be in our lexicon.
Well, let me, because Amish is raising his thing. You know, you talked, we were actually talking before, and you said when the natural industry gets a cold, the lab-grown industry gets pneumonia. And I was just wondering, I mean, you talked about working together a little bit. I think there's been a bit of a challenge between the two different sectors of the industry, is how do you talk about the good parts of your product without kind of putting down the other part of the other product? And I was just wondering how, you know, how you think that should be done and what your thoughts on that were.
So I did want to address the KP scenario that they talk about. One of the things in, the African journalist Umaru, the short film, and I don't know if many of you have seen it, Beyond Shining Illusions, still talks about, and this is not by the lab-grown community, it's actually funded by EU as well as the Kimberley Coalition, that clearly shows that the entire conflict diamond KP is still a myth. And this is not coming from the lab-grown diamond community, but actually from the KP chair. So that's the first part. Coming to how, when we talk about the lab-grown diamond industry and the earth mine diamond category working together, I think the last 10 years, including as of even last month, the only thing, and it's probably with pun that I've done, is thanking the industry or the category on the earth mine side for the derogatory ads that they consistently publish that only help the lab grown. So if there is something about working together, I think the first stance they need to take is where it comes from the consumer. What the change is happening, like I said, that you respect the past, but you have to see where the future is going. Today, when you look at numbers, and again, Rob, you saw that I prepared my numbers because I do work with numbers, and for how all said and done, if you look at the imports that are coming in, almost 48% are lab grown right now.
Coming into America.
Coming out of India, which is
Coming
close to 95% of the exports.
Okay.
Out of pretty much cutting and polishing, 30% growth year over year, and as much as everybody can keep talking about prices going down, these are actual numbers that 28% of jewelry market space is now lab grown. So it is very high time, and I can take you through every piece of numbers, which will pretty much freak out, that there's an 80% growth in lab-grown category in the last year, bringing it up with about 16 to 15 million carats. 63 million carats of lab-grown diamond rough is going to be in the system, with 50 last year coming in from China and 13 being produced from India. And in that, when we talk of energy, ESG, and all of the conversations, 11 producers with over 25% of the goods are actually at net zero carbon footprint. So if you're really looking to work together, then there has to be a conversation of promoting the industry as a whole, rather than continuously saying that it's the funniest thing, which I actually saw yesterday flying in from India on the plane, and I was looking at LinkedIn. There's actually content that talks about, from NDC, with a video about lab grown. And I was telling Rob that it's actually, without the lab grown video, you can't even get enough clicks. So if the industry really wants to work together, you need to stop that. Because the consumer has taken a different stand. And that is why the growth in China, based on actual numbers in lab grown, is 62%. And that's not a small number. The highest number of VC-based investment retail that has opened in India is in lab grown. So rather than consistently talking about pricing, because the whole concept is this origin and also about value. Well, value is not mined, it's created. And it's not the lab-grown diamond category because of which the industry is where it is. It is because of the scenario where the entire value equals mined thought process has been there, and that, as an industry, we have failed to come out of the conversation of a controlled supply of a raw material. So we base all the value on raw material, and this is why every bank, every investment group in the world stays away from this industry. If you look at the entire supply chain and you take out the top retailers, what valuation? You don't even get any multiple. No producer gets multiple, and when we talk of valuation, which I think everybody in the room and the panel knows, where in the last 10 years, mining valuation from $13.6 billion to $4.4 billion, and from a $30 billion import of rough down to almost 58% down. This is not because of, this is because of the consumer. This is because we're not creating value. So this is almost like the last chance for this industry to work together and rebuild the desire for jewelry rather than consistently bickering on, is this lab grown? Where is the pricing going to go? Who's using how much energy, and how is it being mined?
Fariel, did you?
Yeah, I just want to, I mean, I've just met you, Amish, yeah, so I want to just correct you on the KP, because you've misrepresented what that documentary is saying. And then secondly, you started off by saying we should work together, right? But every single statement that you've made has been derogatory. You speak about one video of the NDC. I've not seen this video, but do you know how many I can point to that come from the lab-grown world that are so derogatory, that are all focused on, you know, mind is bad, and just buy me because I'm ethical, because I'm essentially not mind, when the truth is far from that. And so, again, that conversation to me is so old school. It's so boring. We're talking about marketing your product. Stand on your own values. Origins, what we're doing, is selling our product for what it is. It's not selling our product and saying that yours is bad, right? So that's the example I put forward without mentioning lab-grown. But every time you started with saying, oh, we need to work together, but everything you're saying is, these guys are bad. So let's change a narrative. Let's start at this panel. I've met you today. You're clearly from the lab-grown world. Start at this panel and try and have a conversation that's not focused about putting one side down. That's my ask.
I think I would like to respond to this. I think I'm very glad to start, and I can speak on behalf of the entire created diamond category, that the moment the derogatory remarks stop and there is an actual positive conversation on the table, I can assure that the created diamond industry has no interest in making derogatory remarks about the earth diamond category.
Great, let's start.
Excuse me, sorry.
I would
Just
love to
just
actually
one
see it
point
happen.
here. In our industry, the lab-grown manufacturers are the large lab-grown manufacturers are actually also the natural diamond manufacturers. So I don't get it. How is it possible that the natural industry or the lab-grown industry would kill each other? What is happening is, what is strange is, in the pipeline, there is the secondary and the third marketplace where this is happening. If lab-grown were at the same price as natural, lab-grown would not be able to be sold, that's for sure. Lab-grown is only selling because they're cheap, but there is a lot more margin for the retailer, and that's it. There is no real story behind it, actually, if you look at it. And the fact is that the natural industry so far has come out with so many sustainable programs and sustainability, and it has reached a level of transparency that I think is phenomenal over the last many years. And it's giving the truth out to the market. Whereas lab-grown, I don't actually know what's happening in China when it's growing the rough, what's actually happening with how it is growing, what is happening, is it eco-friendly, not friendly. Those details are never out there. And I think so the information is misused and not legitimate. On the other hand, the lab-grown industry was started by an Indian company which actually went into money laundering cases. And that's where it started, really, this industry of lab-grown. It was one Indian company which started this lab-grown business, and it started from money laundering.
Yeah, I mean,
That's the root of that.
I would say the modern lab-grown industry was started by one company. Let me just, before I get to Lisa and to Stuart, I just want to say that that video was produced by the Kimberley Process Civil Society Coalition. It was at one point promoted by the KP chair, who then later criticized it. So I do want to, but I think it's a very interesting video, and I think it raises a lot of genuine concerns. And you know, again, they may not always be things that you want to hear, but I think it's important to recognize that there are still issues in this industry, and that's a fact. And I'm sure, as was mentioned, that there's issues in the lab-grown industry too. So I guess I'm going to go to Stuart, then Lisa.
You know, unfortunately, the conversation is certainly devolving into a lab-grown versus natural, or synthetic versus natural, which is something that I don't think is necessarily productive. But just to amplify Fariel's point before, you know, the notion of working together is a little bit anathema. And the reason why it is because in reality, the synthetic diamond business is looking to be the replacement for natural diamonds. I always say, if their advertising campaigns would have centered around, for all of life's momentous occasions, by all means, buy natural diamonds, but for life's more frivolous moments, we have a much less expensive alternative, then perhaps one could sit down and say, let's work together. But frankly, I don't see the notion of working together, because when somebody's looking, it would be like, I don't have a girlfriend, but it'd be like my girlfriend and wife, let's sit down and work together. No, you're looking to replace me, so why would I sit down and work together? It makes no sense. I don't have a girlfriend. So I find that conversation, and furthermore, notwithstanding the 48% statistic, which certainly in dollars is going way, way down, I was encouraged to see that in September there is going to be a synthetic symposium in Dubai, and I believe that most of it is going to center around something which I think is a wonderful thing for synthetic diamonds, which is the use in technology, the use in medicine, and the use in figuring out how this product can make the world a better place, which I think is a great, great use for them. But to tell me to work together when they're looking to replace me, and basically their selling proposition was, we are less expensive than the product that you were being ripped off on all these years, doesn't seem to resonate.
Well, let me, I'm going to just make a quick comment before I go to Lisa. I mean, lab-grown diamonds are a fact. They exist. They're taking they're taking a substantial market share. I think everybody agrees. So the question is, now that we have these kind of inconvenient facts and inconvenient truths, how do we go forward? And I think that's, I'll go to Lisa right now.
Yeah, actually, that sort of gets to a question I wanted to ask, which is, I've heard the word from several of you, value. And what I wanted to ask is, because price is an indicator, it reflects value. That may be a plethora of values. It may be what the industry gives back. It may be a level of connoisseurship. It may be the magnificence of a stone. And so what I'm wondering is what you would like to say about the positive notion of value as it plays a role for each of you. And I know some of you are going to have more than one answer, Ariel. So go for it, but that's what I was wondering.
Yeah, I love that question, actually, because it's about talking about the product I represent without talking about other product. And we're here to talk about the future of diamonds. From my perspective, I'm a natural diamond girl, and I'm very proud to be a natural diamond girl. I'm a rough diamond girl as well. I'm not so much on the polished side. You know, when you look into a rough diamond, you look at opportunity, beauty. I always say this, hope. When you look into polished diamonds, I see these guys looking for, what's wrong with it. So it's a completely different view of the world. So I'm an optimist, and I love life, and I love to look at our product. Our product has this energy in it. It's innovative. I am wearing jewelry with rough diamonds. Beautiful innovation. It's the De Beers collection called the Talisman collection. It's my favorite collection. I know these ladies, I see lots of ladies they know about it. They're shaking their head. Someone took pictures of it during lunchtime. The value of our product, it's one that is 1 billion years old. That doesn't make it old school. It makes it, for me, so rare. What else can I own that's 1 billion years old? The stone has so much energy and beauty, and each one is different, just like people. We all come from different parts of the world and carry different values and look slightly different. Wouldn't it be so boring if we were all the same? Design. We can design now with rough diamonds, with polished diamonds, with gold, with silver, with wood. I've seen beautiful diamonds in wood. I love that. And we aren't shy about telling the story of positive impact. And I'm someone that absolutely doesn't shy away from authentic conversation around artisanal and why that's good. Artisanal isn't a story of despair and conflict. It's a story of development and people. And the S is where we win. And I love that about the product that I represent. That's the value that I carry with me every time I wear my natural diamonds.
Okay, anybody else wants to talk, or this gentleman has a question? Did you have a question? Yeah. Yeah.
For both.
I, th- I,
That's too little, by the way.
We need to
so,
coexist.
totally in agreement. It's the consumer who chooses. But the problem here is the wholesale trade are fighting with each other, and that was what the discussion came out from. But you're right. At the retail, it's not the same customer base. Completely correct.
Okay, Kathy, you had some?
Yeah, no, I was just making a point that we need to coexist because you have lab, you have natural. And I am a natural girl through and through, but lab will always be there. So we got to make it work and not fight each other on it.
Okay, anyone else? Amish?
I think when we, from what Lisa said, when we come to the conversation of value, when we look at lab-grown diamonds, the category is a miracle of science. It's a product that is changing how the consumer space is growing, while there will be customers for each one of them, from diamond design to jewelry design, from being aspirational to affordable. The lab-grown diamond category is growing the category in the larger space. It's not about where it is today, it's about where it's heading to. When we talk about value in terms of, yes, today, lab-grown gives far more employment. If you talk about that part, we provide far more employment, and it's growing each year. And this is, again, coming from the numbers. So again, the value conversation, because the value of a diamond is what it represents. What you pay across the counter is a transactional price.
I'm
Okay,
sorry,
let's-
but yet
The-
again,
the gentleman who-
sorry, I just want to say, yet again, it's not possible for you to talk about it without saying, we do more, right? So talk about the value without comparing it with, because I don't believe that you employ more than the natural diamond world. That's, I mean, where are the facts here? But that's
I think you
that's
should
just
then
a-
look at
that's
the
just
numbers rather than a
but
conversational.
talk about your product
I am talking about my product.
without talking about.
All right,
we
let's
do more.
get to the people. We'll,
You're incapable of doing that.
I'm sorry, but you're wrong.
well, let's get to her first, because you've had a number of questions, Lisa, and you know. Yeah, go ahead.
Good.
Exactly.
Okay. Thank you. Go ahead. That's a good question.
Who wants to go first?
Who wants to?
Your point is an excellent one, and many people have heard me say that imagine a world where there was no such thing as diamonds in the ground put there by nature. Would there ever been a concept of somebody creating a machine and spending hundreds of millions of dollars in developing to develop something that you could wear shiny on your finger, which has no inherent value because they could be made over and over again? The good that the natural diamond story needs to be told better. That's the truth. The actual origins of diamonds, in my humble, and this is debatable, if it comes from Botswana or it comes from Namibia or it comes from South Africa, to me, these countries are acting responsibly. They are doing things for their population through diamonds, through education, through hospitals, through general growth of what was a third world. It is a third world country, but it's developing. And I think that that's the story that the public needs to know. Yes, of course, each country would love to brand their own diamond for their own reasons. So Botswana would love to brand their Botswana diamonds, Angola, their Angola diamonds. From my perspective, that is a little bit dangerous. I think what's most important is fair trade. I spoke to Fariel about that earlier, and she actually started something like that with the artisanal miners. But if people understand that the countries that are mining diamonds are part of fair trade, and all of the good that it does, I think that people would feel a lot more inclined, and they would love their diamonds even more. When it comes to the synthetic diamonds, they don't have that story. Their story is we look the same for a hell of a lot less money. That's their story. And there is no denying that that's the story. And I don't think anybody, and when you say we need to coexist, many people have heard me say as well, and this may be controversial what I'm going to say, the parasite always likes to coexist with the host. It's the host that doesn't want the parasite. So it's very nice to say, let's coexist, but you're looking to replace me. That's what and kill off, because if that 48% number gets to be 98%, well then, what did you wind up doing to the host? So it's very glib to say the words, we need to coexist. Of course, we live in a capitalistic society. Of course, anybody is free to sell what that gentleman in the back said before. If you want to sell synthetic diamonds, go right ahead, knock yourself out. That's great. We live in a free society. No one can tell anybody how to make a living. But at the end of the day, let's recognize that the selling proposition of synthetic diamonds is indeed to replace natural diamonds, and it is a parasitic relationship on the backs of natural diamonds. That's their story.
Okay, Matthew, and then we'll get to this one.
I love your question because I look back 30 years ago when I was getting engaged, and I actually saw the piece of rough. I helped block, even though at the time I didn't know what I was doing. But the finished product, there's a proof on the girdle, and there's a little trigon. And I love, the Earth is about 4.5 billion years old. The oldest diamonds are approximately 3.5 billion years old, and the youngest are plus minus 800 million years old. There's a sense of humility that you get to attach your own journey to something that was around well before mankind and will be way after we're gone. And what is so, I'm just going to say, really cool about diamonds, that's amazing. I'll pick up the phone and say, Ronnie, can I come down? I have to show you this stone. It's just speaking to me. It's amazing. Can we look at it together? And I get excited. And how many stones am I looking at a day, a week, a year, over 30 years? I don't know the literally millions and millions of carats. And it's incredible. And how excited I get. And that I now get to give this, whether it's my wife or my daughters. And there's something special about that. So, as far as its origin, it's Mother Nature. I mean, at the end of the day, the origin is Mother Nature. I wanted to understand a little bit more about diamond distribution, and this goes back a few years ago, and a friend of mine was very involved in the Northwest Territories, and we had this conversation. I'm going to read very quickly because I don't like to interpret. A Cardi mine in Northwest Territories of Canada. The Panda and Cola pipes are right next to each other, but at different diamond distributions. The Misery pipe had 2 different zones within the same pipe, each likely from a different volcanic event. So all those diamonds from 800 million years ago to 3.5 billion years ago, they didn't make themselves accessible until about 200, 250 million years ago during the volcanic era. And that's what we're able to grab today. That's so cool. And you talk about value or diamonds, there isn't a better conductor of heat or electricity than diamonds. Industrial diamonds. Industry needs it. There's not enough natural industrial diamonds that can be recovered for the demand that industry needs.
Okay.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I just want to, because we didn't get to the second part of her question, and I would like to ask Amish, because this is something that came up in the beginning when lab-grown was still coming out. People were saying, look, you're going to hurt the economies of Botswana and Namibia, and a lot of people said, no, it's not going to be a problem, and it turns out it is a problem. And I guess the question is, and I'm trying to be nice about this, but do people in the lab-grown community feel a kind of moral responsibility for, what's happening to the country of Botswana, which by all accounts is a democracy, it's handled its minerals well. Like, how do that economy is being very badly damaged, and I'm just want to get your kind of thoughts on that.
So I'll answer this in 2 parts. The first part is, if diamonds were so valuable for those economies, then it wouldn't be that the miners got rich and those countries stayed poor. Coming to the part about lab-grown, the employment that lab-grown provides today is creating in India. Now, when we keep talking about, yes, do we worry about the Botswana economy? It's an evolving category. It's an evolving industry. And this evolution, as the consumer, and this is, when I hear on the panel, it's consistently about the trade. Nobody's talking about what's happening at the consumer level. If this all was being communicated, this is how the consumer believed, the category wouldn't be where it is today, where 2/3 of the consumers getting engaged in America are having a lab-grown diamond center. The fashion jewelry segment, which is growing at a very high pace, and when I mean high pace, is not 10, 20, 50%. And again, from a numbers perspective, because everybody keeps talking about numbers here, you should see the numbers where it is at. It's a 30% growth, with today at 28% of the sales, and further growing. So either we presume that the consumer has no idea, like when we talk about education in the last 10 years, all the education they got, and every consumer that has bought a lab-grown diamond does not know what they're buying. So either we presume that, or we accept the fact of what it is. We can keep debating on the fact that the whole value is created from how it's being sourced, because the entire monolithic pricing model based on which this has been going on is broken today. The whole myth of rarity is broken.
Okay.
And this is what the consumer sees. And one last point that Rajat
Yeah,
said
sure.
that I would like to respond to. The first person who brought lab-grown to the market wasn't the Indian family who had the financial issue. Lab-grown jewelry was at JCK years before they even dived in. You might not be aware, 2006, I had a jewelry line at JCK with lab-grown diamonds.
I think
And-
I think it's safe to say that that family popularized it, and probably, I'm gonna go to Raj and then to this woman. and
Just
this-
one thing we are forgetting, Botswana
And then Fer.
and the
Yeah.
diamond business and
I
all
wanna
that,
speak about
but
Botswana.
we're forgetting that Hong Kong-China market has been a bigger effect than even the lab-grown business on the natural diamond industry. It's not lab-grown in reality, it is the Hong Kong Chinese market that is not buying that much diamonds as they were before. And that is nothing to do with a choice of which one they want to buy. It's a purely geopolitical issue over there. And that market is the missing market to the natural diamond industry. And that has affected a lot of the business in the industry. So that's one point. And coming back to you on the natural part, what are the good things that the natural industry has done? So I would come back to the origin part, and I would say that that's one of the piece of the puzzle. In puzzle, I mean in a positive way, is that origin brings assurance and trust and confidence. And with origin, you can enhance your brand equity. And for you guys at Tiffany, that's definitely the case. And when you sell your piece of jewelry, you're not selling actually a diamond. You're selling a piece of jewelry, you're selling lifestyle, you're selling your blue box, you're selling the entire story of Tiffany. So that's a much bigger story than even everything else.
Okay, I know Feria wants to talk, but
Yeah,
this
I
woman
just-
in the back has been waiting so patiently that I feel really, she raised her hand about 10 minutes ago, so I feel really bad. Do you?
I stand corrected, you are correct. You're right.
Well, what term would you prefer, developing?
Thank you.
No, okay. Okay, thank you. Do you want to speak? Okay, I'll go with Ferial first.
Yeah,
just because-
I'd like to respond to, again, some derogatory things that Amish said. Speaking about African producer countries, calling them poor. I think that's absolutely
I
incorrect.
believe that's your
And
presumption. I'm saying exactly how
you
it's
said
my
that's why the
viewpoint.
producers have enriched themselves and the producer countries are poor. Let me tell you about Botswana. Every single student goes out of university without a student debt. Health care is provided for free. Does that sound to you like a poor country?
I think Botswana's not the
Because
only
of
country
diamonds.
producing
So
diamonds.
don't make.
And if you look at the last
don't
100
make
years of
such-
diamonds being
Don't
mined,
make such bad derogatory comments about the category and talk about Africa as a country. I expect
I'm
you to
sorry,
be a little
but the
bit
fact
more,
is that for
a
how
bit
the
more,
African countries
Okay,
exactly
okay,
how
everyone
honest,
don't talk over each other.
take your bias out. So I think that's very important. Secondly, to answer your question, the lady from Tiffany, I think it's very important to talk to the consumer about those wonderful stories because of these labels that exist that society uses to oppress African countries, to oppress producer countries. And coming from Africa, I'm 100% against it. So more people need to speak up when they hear false claims on panels from so-called experts on the topics that clearly have zero expertise on Africa. Thank you.
Okay. This woman in the back has a question. Oh, Amish, you want to just say quickly?
I just, sorry,
Oh,
I just
yeah,
have
yeah.
an opinion that I want to give to Ferial and Matthew and here.
That's a
that
good-
I think so.
Contentious tables on the other
I
side.
think
yes.
so that the entire natural industry, all bodies, should stop even talking about lab grown, and we should only promote natural and only talk good about natural and only promote natural and give all the facts and figures on natural and forget everything else. We should not discuss even the bad or the good of lab grown. We should not be doing anything on any natural platform. That's it, full stop.
Okay.
That would be very-
And the woman in the back has a
That
question?
would
Yes,
really
go
help.
ahead. There's no mic, so you have to scream. Okay, respectfully, can you get to the question? Okay, yeah, go ahead. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, okay, we got the question. Okay.
From the concept of putting a marker, if it's graded by one of the laboratories, then you're going to have a laser marking of what it is. If you're trying to ask if the two diamonds are going to look different under a loop or a magnification, no, because they're both diamonds.
Okay,
Well, I know, and that's why this is the whole diamond from the earth or diamond from the lab. They're both diamonds. You're not going to be able to distinguish that. Depending on the size, anything from 24 days onwards, depending on the size we're growing.
okay, I think Lisa has a question.
Okay, so I would like to close with two comments to all of you.
You want to buy a natural diamond?
And you know what? I have to tell you, I don't have a girlfriend, but I do have a husband who was a boyfriend, and he's in the back of the room. So, anyway, that was an allusion to the previous discussion about girlfriend.
Okay, I have a wife in the back of the room too, and a little boy. Yeah,
And she's a lovely wife too.
yes.
So, okay, one thing is this, and I get to do this just because price is an indicator. Value is a complicated thing, and it has to do with impact, it has to do with beauty, it has to do with the object, it's a very complicated thing. And I think perhaps one of the things that would be interesting would be to have a conversation talking about value, values. What is value in a diamond, or in the diamond universe, or however we want to phrase it? No, we don't have to hammer out the words here, but that's thing one. Thing two, one of the things that is interesting to me that links everyone on this panel, actually, is the notion of innovation. And we are sitting with someone who, Kathy, has introduced innovation in the financial sector and sphere. Raj brings a unique international perspective that's been fed by a very long time at Rosa Blue, but now with a vantage point to bring that perspective to bear on the international marketplace. Whether that's the United States, whether that's India, wherever that is, he has straddled those various countries. Stuart, you're living in the middle of this political fracas, and you have to be in step with every development every single day. Matt, although the same is true for you, I want to call something specific out about him, which is actually two things. One,
Am I in trouble? Okay, then I'm ready.
I like his suit.
that too, okay, three. Sue, one, involvement with technology and commitment to the detective capability it has, and this is a very innovative thing. And two, the exploration beyond bridal of this. I get to do this, and anybody else can too, but Matt is Shamrock and Son responsible for an absolutely wonderful necklace that is a great and innovative concept, because it's not about
He's blushing.
the biggest rock,
Her husband's in the back.
Clearly, you were involved in innovation, and I think that is part of what has, gyrates the, whatever you want to call it, the mix master. And Feriel, first of all, and I'm a bit loath to play the gender card, but as the first woman president of the World Dining Council, you have blazed a trail.
All right, there you go. All right, I'm being told to cut it off by your
I'm just trying
fierce deputies back there.
that this ends on a really up and positive
Oh, yeah, definitely.
He was trying to be nice. That's what he said.
He didn't say he succeeded.
Yeah, I'm doing my best, man, but.
because it's a great panel, it's a great group of people, and there's a lot to be said here, much more on the positive side, but I did want to say that about Feria. And now I'm going to tell you that you all are getting a reward, which is a different game plan, and that is that instead of doing the awards in this room and sitting in this chair, we are actually going to go across the hall. Everyone gets a drink, gets a nibble, and then we will recognize two very worthy people who are getting these awards. So I want to thank you all for a really robust.
Thank you. And I have my